Okay, how about now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, just to go over what I said while I was... What I said was, for newcomers, don't forget, like, subscribe, bell icon, Patreon link down below. I'm going to be making a sword maiden. Not sure if it's a elegant, ferocious, or irritated, or whatever. That's up to the person who I'm making the sculpt for. And I have cats that are going crazy right now. Go figure. So, as I said, I have not seen your nick before, Stun Koifi. Are you perchance the person that I am waiting for? As to why I was muted, there's a new program that I've been using that's supposed to improve the sound of your audio. And I forgot to start it up before I hit broadcast. Okay, you'll understand if I ask you if you can tell me what nick you go by on Patreon. Oh, pop goes the neck bone. Oh, there we go. Just want to make sure I got the right person. Also, what nick do you go by on the Discord? Okay, just making sure. I guess the first question then will be, do you want a more dynamic pose or more static? You know, is she in action, showing off her swordsmanship skills, or is she standing there like, you know, like this, that sort of thing? Ah, Baruska. Baruska is better than Baraka. Baraka makes me think of the guy with the blades in his hand going in Mortal Kombat. Baruska makes me think of Babushka, but I'm not going to explain any further. Of course, who am I? I'm Valandar the Red, which means, well, she could be walking or she could be standing. You want her like having it going forward and reaching the ground? Is that what you're saying? Meanwhile, one thing I have started recently is it is time. I've started using my new figures for these sculpts. They're not ready yet for my master tier Patreons. They'll still be getting the original geometry, which, let's go ahead and just to show you the difference. This is the difference between the two figures. But soon it'll be ready for me to send the new female figure to the patrons. Pointy tip on the ground. Now, upright or kind of out forward? That's the big question. Also, what we can do, we'll go back to our content library. We'll go to props. Now, I'm going to load in 3 different great swords. Because, again, this doesn't have to be exactly like the character you showed me. First, we've got the cliché. We can modify these to be a bit less bulky. But we got the cliché flamberge, which is a 2-handed sword with the wavy blade. We've got a generic, really generic greatsword. We've got a fantasy greatsword, and yet another fantasy greatsword, and then we have Claymore. Now what we can do with these is make them narrower. As you can see, I just did that to 75. We can make them a lot narrower than that. Also, I need to make sure to neutralize the changes made in the hands. So, which of those swords do you think would be the best one to turn? Or we could take, say, an arming sword. Well, that's the wrong one. I was trying to go for an arming sword. Make it both narrower and longer. So which do you think you should do? Okay, the claymore. Thinner and longer. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the claymore, load it in. We're going to go to a back view so that we can see what we're doing with the claymore. And make that 60% and then Y scale of 60%. And the end result is that's a bit too wide or too narrow. It kind of distorts the handle, the cross guard a bit too much. That's what I was clicking on. Well, the thing is, any of these I can tweak the guard in sculpting. It's just this has one that's already got some deco on it. This also might be too long. How does that look? And while we're at it, let's go ahead and put it in place on the hand. Okay. Now, as you can see, it needs to pivot just a little because the hand is curved. There. And then bring it up to there. And now we're going to bend the fingers around the handle because this is originally designed for the other figure. It doesn't automatically change the hand properly. Alright, one other thing we're going to do. Back view. We're going to move the center pivot The reason for this is we want it to, yeah, there we go. We want to pivot it just a little bit like that. Okay. And then we're going to need to bring it down some because that's way too deep into the hand. There. And there it's in the right space for her hand. So now we got to bend these fingers. We're going to start with the index because of the angle that we're looking. It'd be easier to see how it's passing through. And we're just going to use the blue turn for this. Okay, it's starting to pass through there, so we stop. just a little bit, and then just a little bit here. Bring it forward a little bit more. We'll do a little bit of pass through because the finger does tend to compress when you grab something. Now the middle finger, we're going to bend it until it's starting to pass. Bend this one until it's starting to pass, then bend this until it's starting to pass. Too much. There. We also want it to the fingers to overlap with the handle slightly so that they fuse in. Okay, now we're going to grab this finger and we're going to rotate in until it's starting to pass. That's way too far. That's good enough. You'll notice that under normal circumstances, the ring finger and the index finger are the same length, but because of the angles he's holding it in their hand, the ring finger folds more. Now we're going to take the pinky and bend it until it's kind of pressing. Okay, and now the thumb. Now what we're going to do with the thumb is we're going to bend it back a bit on this angle and then go forward about to there. We're only bending these on the red because that's the only direction that finger joints bend. Okay. Now let's zoom out for the whole figure. That's the position of the hand for the figure. We're going to parent the claymore to the right hand so that when we move the arm it goes with it, and then we're going to hide it because we don't want it in the way while we're posing the rest of the figure. We're also going to go ahead and we're going to add on long skirt. That will be cut, trimmed away to make the long slit-sided skirt. And one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to hide it. The next question is, what's he got on her feet? Meanwhile, while I'm waiting on the answer, I'm going to tilt the hips forward just a little bit. We're going to rotate them that way and tilt it slightly that way. We're going to have her walking, so her left leg will be forward. Back to right view. We're going to take the hip, we're going to pin translation and pin rotation there, and we're going to basically just kind of move up the foot a bit. Then I'm going to take this foot and we're going to kind of pull it back to about there, and we're going to bend the toe. And then I forgot to do something. Parameters. This needs to be locked. This needs to be set to 0 and locked because we don't want the and this one needs to be set to 0 and locked because we don't want it moving that direction. Alright, so we're going to bend it forward a bit more and bend the leg back a bit more here. Actually, we need to straighten this out. because we really need to have her walking with a high stride. Control D. Perspective view. Alright, we need to twist this on this axis and bring this in a bit more like that. Control D. Right view. Okay, we need to bend this back a little bit more at the ankle. Not quite so far. Bend the foot forward a little bit. Control D. This is one of the trickiest parts to posing a figure, is making sure that the feet are both on the ground. Now we go back to perspective view. Okay. Now we're going to tilt the chest and the abdomen a little bit to the left. We're going to twist them. And we're going to bend, and we're going to go backwards a little bit. With the chest itself a bit more forward. Collar is going to go down and forward a little. We're going to make the claymore visible for this. I'm going to bring out the arm. Bring it down a little. This is just to get an idea on where we need to put the arm for the purposes of using it as a walking stick. Okay, we can bring it further out this way and further down this way. And now we're going to go to the front view so that we can see, yep, it's pointing too far down. We're going to rotate from the wrist because we want this wrist to be as little bend side to side as possible. We can now go to right view, and it still looks like a broken wrist. So instead what we're going to do, we're going to unrotate the wrist as much as we can, and we're going to grab this and we're going to rotate it as much as we can. And then we're going to rewrite the hand. Perspective view. Yeah. We're going to repose the hand. Let's go ahead and move this up a bit this way. We're going to rotate the hand a little bit on the X. Actually, it's unparent claymore right hand. Okay, now we're going to just grab this and kind of pull it out that way. Alright. Now, we're going to move it forward a bit so that there's room for the fingers to do what they need to do. Make sure it's not going. Okay, good. Now, we're going to select all of the fingers, go to all, bend 0, and we're going to rebend them all. Okay. We're going to redo the thumb last. We're going to grab here, and we're going to bend to there, to there, to there. We're then going to grab here and move it just a little bit more. So it's okay. There. A little bit more out. Basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a grip like this. It's normally used on like a rapier, not on a greatsword, but we got to do what we got to do. Okay. Now we're going to grab this finger, rotate it forward, and rotate it again, a little bit too much, and rotate it again. And then this finger. And yeah, that's looking pretty good, except for the thumb placement. The thumb we actually want to unbend here, and then bend it a little bit more here. Yeah, there we go. And now we're going to reparent the claymore to the hand. And then we're going to go back to the front view. We're going to select the hand. And we see the side to side is still 17. I misnamed some of these. We're going to undo the side to side until it's touching the ground. We go back to right view to see what it looks. Yeah, that looks like a lot more natural view of the hand. We're going to twist at the neck. And we're going to tilt her head back just a little. But both to give her more of that proud look, and that she's not concerned where she's looking because she doesn't need to look. And then we're going to lower this hand. Go back a bit. Actually, and bend the elbow. And then we're going to expand from selected. Select all of the fingers, as long as they're on all. Zoom in. And we're going to curl them slightly. A more relaxed. Actually, let's go ahead and uncurl the index finger a little bit more. And we're going to curl the pinky a bit more. And the ring finger. And now we have this as her pose. How's that? Well, she's got by default bare feet. We can just slap a sole on and make sandals, if that would work. You know, strappy shoes. I also think we need to tweak the shape of that hip, of that right hip, the one close to the sword pommel, because right now it's a little unnatural. And then just to show, bam. Obviously, I'm going to be tweaking the tunic, but I can go ahead and do some of that now. What are you doing? Oh, yeah, we got a visitor. What? Do you like her? Oh. This is Carlton, come to say hello as usual. Trick number 1 for cats. Hold them like they think they can jump down anytime they want to and they won't want to. Isn't that right? Or if you grip them tight and they're not Carlton. Okay, I'm going to put you down. I've only had half an hour to sculpt, and I've barely gotten to... One thing I'm going to do to help tweak this long skirt, we're going to expand the whole thing. We're going to unexpand the arms of the other... Alright, now, we're going to go to this. I'm going to select the right thigh. Tool settings, smooth. We're going to set that radius to 30, and the outer radius to 80, and the intensity to 100. Now, this is almost entirely from the X rotation. Let's see what happens when I... Okay, it's not from the X rotation as much as I thought it was. Let's try Y rotation. Oh yeah, there's a lot that was from the Y rotation there. What about the Z? There's not much Z. Oh, no, there is quite a bit of Z. Oh yeah, it's quite a bit of Z. What I'm doing is I'm adjusting the rigging of the skirt. Okay, now we're going to go to the shin. And this should have quite a bit of there. Let's try Y, because there's usually some of all three of them. When all three of them are working together, they all three affect what's happening. And X. And now we're going to go to the foot. Right foot. Y rotation. Z rotation. Yeah, there we go. And that solved almost all of the wrinkle problem that we had. Or overlap problem. Now, we're going to go ahead and focus on the face. Now, we're going to change the facial details like the cheekbones and the nose and that in the sculpt phase. Her eyes are always going to be large simply because it makes it easier to paint. But what expression do you want her to have? Is she worried? Is she neutral like this? Is she smiling? Is she unconcerned? What sort of facial expression? So maybe just a little bit of a smile. That's too much. That's too much smile on that side. Once again, all right, let me zoom out and we get a better look. Oh. Keeping in mind that she will have an eye blindfold on, and this neck will get fixed. That's just a geometry thing. Okay, I think that's good enough. We're going to hide the skirt and hide the sword. And then we're going to export this as the basic geometry body. Oh, I've got it on new folder. Sword made body. Accept. Hide her. Make the skirt visible. File. Export. Long skirt. Accept. Then we're going to make the sword visible, make the skirt invisible. File, export, sword. And then pop over to ZBrush, where we're going to import from broadcast sword made body. Draw it into the scene. Click on edit. While we're here, before we bring in anything else, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this one hip. I'm going to reduce the intensity of the smooth just to make this a bit less. And a little bit over here. Make it a bit less unnatural looking. Okay, now we insert Polymesh 3D, import long skirt, insert Polymesh 3D, import sword. We're going to hide the sword and we're going to do a little bit of tweaking on the skirt. We're going to start with the move tool. And we're going to make it a little bit bigger, and what we're going to do is we're going to, on these small areas here, and if there's any on the other side, we're going to move them out so that they're not intersecting with the body geometry. And there's a couple on the back. So we're just going to grab this back center and pull it out. A little bit more over here. Okay. Let's smooth out this and pull it out. Once again, we want it to look more natural. Now, do you want one slit or both slit? If it's only one slit, it'll be the forward leg. And it will help, you know, make it a bit different from the default. Well, I personally would suggest one slit simply for the sake of making it more distinct from the inspiration character. But that's my opinion. Geometry, divide. One more, delete lower. Dynamesh of 1024. Dynamesh. And let's give it one level subdivision. That's what I was thinking. What we're going to do is I'm going to tilt it and get it kind of like this. We're going to turn on transparency so I can see everything that I'm doing, and we're going to make the slit miss the crotch and hip area, but seem to show a lot more than it really does. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. Forgot to click on trim rectangle. Make it miss there. And then it looks like it shows more than it really does. We're also going to pull this out a little bit more from the hip so we can just make a distinct cloth overlapping the leg there. That may have taken too much material away. Too much of an angle. Once again, we're going to make it transparent. We're going to kick it forward and over to the side. Not want it a little bit more like this. Yeah. That's better. So what do you think of that? And of course we're going to subtract a little bit on in here to make it look more like two pieces of cloth instead of a mass of geometry. And to do that, we're going to hide the body. That's something I say far too often on this show. And I'm going to grab my Wacom. We're going to switch to layer. Make this a bit smaller. Z sub 100. And we're going to go to stroke and turn off lazy mouse. Now I take this and I'm going to no, we're going to turn lazy mouse back on. We're going to turn the flesh back on, but turn on transparency. I want to make sure I can see where it's coming out of the leg. So we're going to start inside here. Oh, wait. Make that lazy radius a good bit bigger, yeah. Make sure this is done, and come back here and bring it out a little bit more so it's as close to the Alright, now I'm going to shrink the mouse a bit and smooth out this area. I'm going to hit it with the number 1 key a few times because I realized I forgot to increase the density to 100. I'm going to smooth out this area right here until it's nice and smooth. Okay. Now it's pretty clearly cloth. Frame out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our body. We're going to go to Subtool, That's up to, we'll go to geometry. We're going to divide 1, 2, delete lower. Resolution 1024, Dynamesh. Now we're going to zoom in on that chin. I mentioned earlier we were going to be fixing it. And we're going to use slash to fix it. And then smooth. And then I'm just going to smooth out this whole area here. That's something I got to tweak on the final version. And then we're going to tweak out some of the under chin area. Now, we're going to smooth over here a little. And we're also going to use inflate to kind of build up the that area. A lot bigger and then smooth it out. Move. Drop it down a good bit. Move this down. Is there anything else you want done to the face before we move on to adding the blindfold? Okay. Actually, we're going to do one thing before we have the blindfold. We're going to merge it down. And blend it. Bring this back up to about there. And we're going to smooth out everywhere that the upper seam connects. So we want this to be part of clothing, not just a waist clout. Now it looks like it's more part of a dress. By the same token, I'm going to smooth out the underside of the chest, once again to make it more like cloth and not hanging memory lens. Not a lot more, but just enough to make it look more like it's clothing and not the, which to assist with that, we're going to increase the space between the boobs a bit here. We're gonna and then smooth it out. Again, to make it look more like clothing and less like body parts. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this. And this new version will be Dynamesh Super Low. And then divided. And then we're going to cut off everything but the head. Now that we've done that, make the body visible. We're going to go to deformation and inflate it slightly until, yeah, That's all we need right there. Now we're going to make it transparent so we can see where the eyes are. And we're going to draw a mask. By mask, I don't mean face mask, I mean an area that the geometry is covered up so it won't be affected. There we go. It's going to cover the entire area where the eyes are. And a little bit higher. Then we're going to go to the side. Show that we're level. Actually, we're going to make sure we're level this way. We're going to tilt back. And then go to the side. And deselect a good bit about here. Okay, now we're going to extract. Subtool, extract 0.01. Accept, draw. We're going to make this part here invisible. First we're going to deselect and then we're going to make it invisible. And frame. Now, it's obviously sinking in too far over the eyes themselves. That's okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to dynamesh it at 256. This will give us a little bit of edge along the top and bottom, but still make it nice and soft. And now we're using the clay brush, we're going to shrink it down. And we're going to kind of build up in the sockets. And then smooth it out. Also going to smooth out where it goes over the nose. Okay, let's smooth out here a little. Okay. Frame in. We're going to now subdivide it several times until it's about maybe one more. Yeah. Because we're going to be reducing it after we do this. Now what we do, we're going to shrink the draw size to about, that's it. Now let's make it a little bit bigger. And we're going to increase the lazy radius a bit. And we're going to just kind of, no, that's too small. And that's too weak. Now we're going to come around this way. And bring this down to there. We're going to come from here and come around down to the middle. And this one's going to meet up with the center. And we're going to smooth this because that needs to be dealt with later. Okay, now we're going to take slash and make it a little bit bigger, and we're going to kind of go under here to there. Actually, no, that's not the one we want. We want this to kind of go like that. And over. And over here. And bring it up this way. And bring it around this way. And this is basically just to make our wrinkles. And we're going to go to add, we're going to drop this down to about there. And we're going to draw on the bottom of these wrinkles. That's not strong enough. There we go. Why the bottom? Because of gravity. We're going to be more concerned, we're not going to be that concerned with the lower wrinkle, the one on the very bottom, because that's got the edge to make it sharp. Okay. That's our blindfold. Blindfold is not going to be merged in yet because we're going to need it off when we make the hair. This extra head we're going to delete. Okay. Now, upper body. Or do you want some tweaking on the lower face? Keeping in mind, details are exaggerated. Because if you smooth out that lower face to be more realistic, you lose all of the detail down there. Her dress, does it like thin strap? Is it strapless? Do you want sleeves? Do you want the sleeves to be separate from the dress? Okay. Spaghetti strap, broad strap with a high neck, sleeveless. Okay, how far down do the sleeves go? Also, does she have a belt? Okay, so sleeves all the way to the wrist. And finally, neckline. High neck collar, V-neck, t-shirt neck. Okay, so V-neck going to say, how about down to just above where the cleavage would be? That sound good? Like you can kind of see where my, well, let me, right about down to there. Like 3-4 fingers below the collarbone. Yeah. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the standard brush. We're going to shrink this. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our sleeves. I kind of try and orient it so that it's as horizontal as possible to the wrist. And we're going to mask off much of the forearm. Much like we did with the dress, we're going to blend the top, say, half directly into the skin after we create these. Yeah. Sleeve collars, or sleeve cuffs. Okay, that's too low. So let's bring it down a bit more. Yeah. That'll be about the same as the other one. Okay, now we're going to extract these at 0.02. We're going to draw to get rid of the masking, and draw to get rid of the masking. And now here we're going to take these, geometry, 256, Dynamesh. Turn off the Dynamesh. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. What we're going to do is we're just going to start smoothing out areas until they start to blend into the point where they're becoming one with the geometry. And while trying not to get the edge of the sleeve smoothed out. And now we do it on this side. Okay. And here. Trying out a little bit. Now, we're going to subdivide it a few times until it's nice and smooth. And we're going to merge down and draw to Dynamesh it. Zoom it back in and smooth out those areas where they overlap. Once again, it'll be a bit smoother this time. Okay. There's wrist length sleeves. And now we need to do the neckline. We know you want it to come down to about here. Do you want it to start here, further out to show more of the shoulders, or tighter in on the neck? Okay. So I'm going to draw the line. The line, yeah, okay. It's almost falling off. Okay. Sassy shoulders. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and shrink this again. So, we're talking, well, let me, practically here. Oh, let's bring that up a little bit. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. Okay, there we go. Now remember, the top of the line is where the top of this will be. And then we'll bring it around. This will probably be covered by the hair, but bring it around like this. And then just to remind you, it's going to be that. how's that for the neckline? Okay, we're going to extract it. We can always come back to it. And just like we did before, 256 Dynamesh frame, zoom out, and we're going to make this bigger. About there. Whoop. Actually, no. We're going to delete this because of the positioning of the neckline. We're going to need to make it thinner. 0.0125. Accept. Geometry. 256. Dynamite. A little bit smaller. Yeah. There we go. Once again, this back will be hidden by the hair, but we can't get sloppy. And there's a couple places we're actually going to have to use the move tool. Blend it in. Okay, good. We're going to use transparency to make sure we're doing this right. Grab the bottom here and pull it in to there. A little bit more. Okay. And then over here, we don't need transparency for this one. Grab here and move it in. That about the right? Okay. Now we're going to divide it a few times. Delete lower. Merge down. Okay, now we're going to shrink this. Actually, we're going to switch back to the standard brush. We're going to smooth out where it meets everything to make sure that we get it all blended nice and evenly. Okay, down here. And here. And that, because we're going to cover that up with wrinkle bits. Alright, so the dress is in place, but it's missing something important for all clothing. Can you guess what that is? And while you tell me, I gotta take this. Oh, man. Now, what is her clothing missing? Exactly! Then we'll get into wrinkles. Now, once again, the seams will have to be somewhat exaggerated for them to look right, for them to even be seen. Now, to show you what I mean, let me zoom out. This is about the level of detail that you'll see from a resin printer. Notice that you really can't even see the fingernails even though she's got them. You might be able to make them out barely. But you've got a clear top seam, wrist seam, bottom seam. And this is the level of detail you'll see from most FDM printers. Most. Not all. Some are amazing. Okay, so we gotta exaggerate those seams. And hello, Katori! Welcome! Katori, you're a seamstress. I would assume that, beside the seam underneath the sleeve and down the sides. Hold on just a second. Okay, sorry about that. Alright, like I was trying to say, would there be a seam here on that style of dress? Or would it just simply go from here all the way down? I'm assuming there also might be like a waist seam of some kind. Really? Okay, I don't know what raglan sleeves are. Also, I'm seeing... Did I have no interference now? Still staticky. I still don't know what that means by baseball. Okay, hold on just a second. Let me see what happens. Okay, how about now? Okay. Yeah, I don't know what baseball sleeves are. I have no knowledge, none whatsoever, of tailoring and seams and things like that. Especially not on women's clothing. Okay, so it would be like down here. Like along here, basically, is what you're saying. And then a seam down the underside of the arm. Way too big. Basically, a seam that came from like down here. And then coming like that. I'm still kind of confused. It's more the placing, because at the scale we're working with, the type of stitching won't really be as visible. Okay. I'm confused. I'm very confused. All I need to know is where to put the seams, not what kind of seam, because it's at this scale, it's not visible. Yeah. For this dress, where would they be? So, for example, kind of coming like that, and then that. So there wouldn't be one here. It's all I'm wanting to know. Oh, there's a small. There we go. No, it would be coming from here. Ah! My shirt sleeve is getting in the way of my... Okay. So would there be one down the right-hand side too? A vertical seam like this down the right-hand side? So for example... Oh, wait a minute. That was... I forgot to... Okay, frame out. See how it looks smaller. Okay. Now, what kind of decorations do you want on this dress? Alex? Besides wrinkles. Wrinkles will be coming nearly last, depending on what kind of wrinkles they are. Okay. Okay. While you're thinking, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the hair. To do that, I'm going to zoom in on the blindfold and zoom out. Then we can hide the blindfold. We're going to smooth out the eyes a bit. We're going to go back in a minute and redefine. We don't even need to worry about that. Why did I do that? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw here and there. I just make sure we get it all off. Now, shrink this down. Can you name a celebrity with the style of hair that you want? Okay, border on the sleeves. Narrow, wide, or dark me. Brand new can of soda, and I had a fly out of it. I have to deal with that after the show and get a new can of soda. Like finger width, palm width, you know. Narrow. Okay. We're going to use the same width. One thing I hate about Memphis in summer and early fall is that there's a lot of flies around here. Okay, we're going to frame out. And now we're going to still use that seam tool. We're going to make it a little bit larger, and we're going to use this. Do you want a say flat seam, or do you want it like to have decorated little twirls? If it's narrow, it's probably going to be mostly flat. All right, now just to make sure we're going in the right direction. No, that's actually too big. In a real world garment, this seam would not be this big. It is this big so that it's visible and paintable on the figure. I've seen some amazing sculpts that don't print well at 28mm because the details were all realistically scaled and sized. So it looked great, especially when rendered, but printed with some issues, and it kind of got muddy on the details. Gotta remember, make those details sharper and more exaggerated than they are in reality. Oh, wrong way. I'm gonna go back this way. The direction of the seam is based on the direction of the stroke. Okay. And then this one. Okay. Frame out. Okay. We're going to get to wrinkles here after we do the hair. Like I said, can you think of a celebrity that has the hair that you want for her? Yeah. Okay, while you're... So you keep searching, I'm going to go ahead and do some of the wrinkles for this. We're going to use the clay buildup tool. We're going to make it a little bit bigger than this. We're not going to make fine wrinkles. We're going to make it, more cotton than silk. And what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of figure out what direction that we want these wrinkles to go. Wrinkles across the chest because it's being pulled tight there. A lot of these wrinkles will break at the seam line. I'll kind of pull up a little bit here. Once again, it's being more than likely pulled tight around the back at the waist. And then we're going to have some wrinkles coming up from the bend of the underarm and then down. Coming around here. Okay, now we're gonna switch to slash. We're going to make it bigger and go to sub, and we're going to just kind of draw at the bottom of each of these wrinkle areas. Actually, before we do that, we need to smooth out the ends of some of these. because wrinkles don't suddenly stop like that. They may suddenly start, but not suddenly stop. We're also going to go over 1, 2, 3. We're going to go over all of these on the back because they're a bit too narrow for what we want it to be. And this one here. And another back issue over this way. We still want to be able to see them as our guides, but we don't want them to be blatant. Okay, now we're going to increase that intensity. And we're going to draw under where these wrinkles are. Oh, that one was too. Once again, we're going to smooth the ends of some of these. A little bit here, just a little bit, especially in the chest area. We're going to worry about the smaller wrinkles on the sleeves later, but we want to be at the bottom of these wrinkles. But okay, now we're going to make it a little bit bigger, shift to add, and drop it to about 28. Once again, we're going to draw on the bottom of these wrinkles. And smooth where they end. Now here, we're going to go in, we're going to do the bottom of these wrinkles. Because gravity don't like things being too defiant of it. Okay, now we're going to shrink the mouse quite a bit, and we're going to zoom in a bit, and we're going to do the arms. Start off with sub, we're going to leave it at 28 because these are smaller, shallower wrinkles. Oh, I forgot. Here. Yeah, there we go. Now, okay. And then coming up from underneath here, 1. Okay, and then we're going to move over here. And that's going to be coming up this way, there. We're going to switch to add, drop it to 22. And then we're gonna, once again, on the bottom of the wrinkle. In this case, there's 2 areas that could count, so we do both of them. Okay. There we have our wrinkles with a smooth spot on the one hip. Let's go ahead and kind of just get some minor. Oh, I said minor. Just to kind of add that feeling that it's continuing on from the other side. There. Okay. Okay, both Christina Aguilera and Gwen Stefani have had 18 gazillion hairstyles. Let me go ahead and pop to here so I can check, see if you sent me a message or something, which apparently you haven't. Maybe put a link into the either the Discord or the Patreon page. And yes, getting those wrinkles right is very, very important. Okay. And while you're choosing, I'm going to go ahead and go back to ZBrush, and we're going to make her toes, her sandal bottoms. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this, hide the old one, and the new one we're going to go to Geometry, Dynamesh 256, and we're going to, we're not going to use slash, we're going to use the standard brush. We're going to smooth the toes. And then we're going to hit it with inflate a little bit. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use this as the basis to sculpt our, let me smooth that out. We're going to use this as the basis to sculpt our alright, we're going to turn the body back on, and we're going to turn on transparency. Alright, because we need to make sure that the toes are covered. And that it's deeper than the feet. Not by a lot, but by some. Because of what we're about to do. And let's bring it out a little bit more. Okay, now smooth that and inflate it. Now we're gonna there we go. Now zoom in. We're going to use a new tool, well not new, but a moderately new tool, the polish tool. A really high volume, or high high intensity and size to make the bottoms of these flatter. We're not worried if there's some poke through, but we want to make sure that it's mostly flat. And we're going to include that bend in here, just because it's a natural thing. Well, now the reason we're not going to be worried about not being perfect is because it's also going to be made into... Now let's go to planar. We want to make this flat. Well, let's do it this way. We're going to inflate it a little bit. Deformation, inflate 2. Then we're going to geometry, divide, divide, delete lower. And we're going to move it over. Let's inflate the bottom of the toes a bit more because that kind of needs it. Including here. And then Control Shift, cut that down. Yeah. We're going to Control Shift cut this down to be roughly equal. And then we're going to make the foot flat on the heel. Just a little. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the standard brush to give us a nice small area. Well, actually, let's do this. Select just a little bit past, but a little bit past. No, it's a little bit more. Okay. And then we're going to return this flat. Just a little bit past the edge. A little bit past, I said. There. Alright, that's good. Frame out. And we can see where the bottoms of the feet are. We're going to extract it at 0.2 or 0.02. Accept, draw, turn off transparency, and delete this body. And that's going to be our sandal bottoms. We're going to add on the sandals themselves later. And let's go ahead, go to geometry, and we're actually going to not Dynamesh, but ZBrush for half. 1. 2. And a little closer we get to very low poly. Yeah, that's better. Frame out, turn that off, and we're going to divide it. Let's smooth. That smoothed out the front and the back ridges. Okay, that's going to be our sandals. Now, okay, Patreon's only on Discord. That means I'm going to go ahead and pop back here, go into the Discord, and Patrons only. Okay. So you want like the classic long hair parted from one side over this way. Okay. Go ahead and pop that back on. ZBrush, streaming live, budding. Yeah, there we go. Now let's zoom into there so we can start working on our hairline. We're going to give it another level of subdivision because that's going to need a lot of detail for the hair. All right, now, I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be perfect. That kind of hair would take a very long time to do properly. We're going to start off by roughly where the hair will be. We're going to bring it down to there. It's not going to go all the way to the seam because we're going to use another method to get it down there. And we're going to bring this up this way. Then we're going to cross around. Come around behind this ear. And bring it down to about here. Okay. Once we've got the geometry ready, we're going to inflate it and pull it around and maneuver it so that it goes down below the edge of down here. Alright, so let's make this bit bigger. And we're just going to sit here and fill in. We're going to leave the ear alone because the ear is going to poke through a little. Although whether that succeeds in looking like an ear or just another piece of hair, that's going to depend on how well I can get this looking. Okay. I'm going to zoom that around. What I really should do is make a few standard hairstyles in the same way that I've made standard clothing types. And then, you know, they can just the basic shape, and then they can have individual detailings. Making sure I've got it all masked in. And then I'm gonna just make this quick. Excuse me. Alright, now we go down to extract. And we see that 0.125, let's make that 0.02. Extract. Accept. Turn off masking. Select the body and turn off masking. Go back to here. Go to geometry, Dynamesh 128. Now, before we do anything else, we're going to go to clay buildup, going over here to where you've got the brush tools, auto masking, backface mask. Because we're going to be using this not to draw on our curves, but to kind of pull it out and to build up the volume on the back and the sides. We're going to shrink a little bit where it meets the face and back here. And we're just going to kind of pull this out. What we're looking for right now mostly is just general volume. Vague shapes, not the full. We're gonna subdivide it a couple times, and dynamesh it at 256. And then we're going to use the move tool to make it even bigger. I'm going to grab here and just going to kind of pull it down to there. Now, just how long do you want this to be? Mid to low back. Okay. So, make this a little bit bigger, and just kind of... How's this? Obviously, we're then going to go back to our clay buildup tool and kind of build up some more of these shapes and forms. That's a little bit too much. Let's smooth that down and kind of just get our shape. And frame out. If I had a way with hair, I wouldn't have this. Anyway, now we're going to subdivide it again a couple times. Delete lower. 116, we need one more. Divide, delete lower. 464,000. We're going to shrink the size of the clay buildup tool. And we're going to turn off Lazy Mouse, bring this back to about 24. And then we're going to start off, we're going to start adding on broader curls or narrower locks. And we're going to do something similar with these that we did with the wrinkles. And we're going to come around like that. We're going to make this one step bigger and then just kind of come. Another 2 steps bigger because this is getting pretty hefty down here. Okay, this is just our general shaping of the locks. Now we're going to go to slash And with slash, we're actually going to increase the size quite a bit. And we're going to start off with a single slash down this way. Actually, we're also going to turn off lazy mouse, which means dropping that down to about there. Too much. Yeah, just to emphasize that. Once again, we're just going to go for some of these shapes, not for precise details here. Unlike the cloth, we're not going to worry about if it's in the middle and the bottom, if it's on top, where it is on the lock, because the locks are vague. Hair isn't a solid material. It's a mass of fibers that aren't connected except at the top. And this will also help us give it more of a wild look. And then finally up top here, just follow where these locks are and kind of randomly throw in some few more lines. Frame out, let's see how it's doing. Okay. I'm going to zoom out quite a bit. Okay. Now, we have two things left to do. And that's, we need to make her straps for her sandals, and then we need to detail her sword. The straps for her sandals are going to be easy. Okay? What we're going to do is just simply, well, in this case, we also have to tweak her toes. Bend right there. So we're going to shrink this mouse quite a bit and smooth out over there, and still needs quite a bit. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Over here. Coming back this way, over here. Alright, what we're going to do is we're going to just simply draw some lines, and then we're going to draw another line down the center. And by draw a line, I mean literally just draw a line. These will be the straps on the sandal. They are not going to be photorealistic, or not. They're not going to be like absolutely realistic straps because, well, real world things don't always work for miniatures. And that to here. And then we're going to come back in and deselect here. Okay, good. And then we're going to grab here and tilt it backwards. And we're going to select here. And deselect there. Whoops. Deselect there. Deselect there. Okay. That's that foot. Well, no, it's not, because we got to do that. We're going to extract them separately because it would be a lot easier with how I'm going to handle it. Alright. We're going to extract them at 0.0125. Extract. Accept. Draw. Now you'll notice that it's passing through in a couple areas. That's okay. We'll take care of it the old-fashioned way, by clipping them off. Move that so my head's not in the way. There. There. That foot's good. And we don't need to do anything about detailing on it, because the only one that would have a detailing will be this foot. And what we're going to do is we're going to maneuver around to this side. Okay. Now, we're going to draw a mask here and one here. Then we're going to come back to the front, tilt it down, and we're going to draw a mask from here. Then we're going to draw masks from this angle, because her straps will go all the way up to there, and one more down here. I'll put one here and one here. And now let's make them a little bit thicker. And then here we're going to draw from here to there, and let's tweak that. Okay, and then we're going to extract it. Accept, draw, and we'll see that yes, it too has problems, so we're going to Control Shift, cut. Yep, we trimmed it. And I just realized I forgot to demask. So this one actually has both feet straps. We go here. Hide everything except for that offset, that foot that shouldn't have been made. Go to Visibility, Hide Point, and it hides what's not selected, leaving us this. And then we go to Geometry, Modify Topology, Del Hidden. There. Now the last thing we're going to do, I'm going to put a gem on the front center. Insert gemstone. We're going to go with the tall, skinny one. We check the depth, and we want to make sure the depth is at 0. And we just kind of click kind of in the center, and we draw until it's nice and big. We're then going to move. We're going to make sure, okay, it's in a good spot. Let's rotate it a little bit more this way just to fit the the straps positioning. And then we're going to go to Subtool, Split Unmasked Parts. Back to Draw. Back to the diamond. We're going to divide it a couple times. I just want to delete that one. Okay, frame out. And now all we have left to do is the sword. Now, with this current state of the sword, is there anything you do want done to the sword, like a gem on the crossguard, something on the pommel, something somewhere on the blade? Really, at this point, it can't be. I can see what I can do, but considering the scaling is totally vertical and horizontal, I really can't change the width. Also, to be honest, anything narrower than that at that long will be quite... Oh, wrong. Will be quite flimsy. A sun in the gem. I don't have a sun, I have a star. And that's not so much... It's like that. It's pretty thick and hefty. Would that be what you want? Let me arrange these so that it's gonna pivot properly. What I've got is a flat cabochon or a straight cabochon cut gemstone, a skull, or two skulls. One is realistic, a buckle, a disc, a knot, a square diamond gem, round gem, and triangle gem, and then that star and a flower. Here's what I've got: the gemstone, oval gemstone with a setting, round, square diamond, long diamond, star. That was actually made for somebody else's figure. It's useful, so I might use it elsewhere. It's a 7-pointed star. Flower, and knot, crude skull, stylized skull, that sort of thing. Well, my first thought would be to have two ovals, one here and one here, and maybe using these round gems to compensate for the fact that it lost its roundness in the reshaping, but that doesn't come out so good. Maybe put the long star, let's say, sideways on it, like that. How does that look? I can then go to move, bring it up here so it's kind of actually do that just slightly enough so that it matches the bottom edge of the claymore. Looking at it, I need to tweak it just a little bit this way. And I can put another one just like it on the other side. So that'd be split unmasked points. So I'll need to scale it just a little bit overall. And scale it vertically. Up a little vertically. And make sure it's rotated right. Now it's pretty much on point, except it's rotated a little bit that way. Yeah, that's about right. Something to make it unique and different from others. Split unmasked parts. Geometry. Oh, wait. Merge down. Geometry, divide a couple times. And then we take the sword itself and divide it a couple times to make sure that it's doesn't have. Okay, now let's zoom out. And here is our sword mistress. Do you think she's done? You think that's good? Oh. Whoop. I just kicked some of the stuff the cat knocked out of the trash can. Okay. Bring the hair forward. That's actually not going to be too hard to do, because all I got to do, come back over here to the move brush, and I see what you mean. Let's shrink the brush a bit. We want to focus on on the smaller of the two circles, and we're just going to kind of pull it. And we're going to pull it out around the blindfold. Down a little. Pull it back. And this is going to come out from like that. Actually, let's grab this and move it forward a little to retain the proper shape. Okay. There we go. Okay, well, next step is to finish it off. And by that, we just select the body, and we just say merge down, 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 ba-doo-be down. Now, under geometry, we're going to dynamesh this at 1280. Right now it's at 5.5 or almost 5.6 million polygons. We click that button, and it's going to start calculating and ruminating and reorganizing, and it's down to 4.6. That's still way too high. No slicer in the world can do that safely. So what we do is we go up to Z plugin and hit this little circle with an arrow to bring it over here. And we select Decimation Master. Now, she doesn't have a lot of fine detail like chainmail or scales, but she's still got some specific shapes we want to make sure are protected. So we're going to go ahead and make her 75K. That's 75,000 points, 150,000 triangles. You can see that orange bar up there. It's counting it down. And reordering. Writing file to disk, and there we go. 150,024 triangles, 74,959 points. Now, there'll be some file cleanup after the show, and what I send you won't be exactly those numbers, but it'll be exactly this look. This is your blindfolded swords mistress. I'm decided not to include a base because all of the bases that I use for this are also available on Thingiverse on my name, and you can just pick and choose. You can make your own base, you can put her as part of a diorama, whatever. I've seen a lot of people asking for versions of the figures not on bases. So, yeah. Now, I go up here, export. Blind sword made. And there. Now I just come back here, back to the main screen. Kaboosh. And I kind of see or hear this. Really, Fuzzbutt? Really? Yo! Get up off my back. This is Ralph. The one earlier was Carlton. Shinju is actually on my bed in the next room. Yep. You missed Carlton, he was here earlier. What are you doing? Huh? What you doing, little buddy? What you doing? Anyway. Yeah, I think he's about to try to go for my shoulder. If I do this. How does my hand taste? There you go, little buddy. So anyway, that was the show. It's a little bit after 3. I'm going to go ahead and call it. And the way I do that, I hold my hand up here. Well, here. And I count from 5 to 1. When I get to 1, I say something deep, goofy, or ridiculous and go, and when I do the I log out. So, yes. What are you looking at down there? See it game, Board Trouble. Don't misunderstand. Board Trouble is in my Wednesday game. I'm not broadcasting Wednesday. My next broadcast is tonight and then one on Thursday. Okay. So, you're welcome. That's going to be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The best way to get the attention of a cat is to pretend you don't want it.